successful entrepreneurs from ASEAN. I'm Malu Natarajan, the chairperson of Flow Mumbai chapter. It is an honor to have with us Mr. Jitendra Singh, Honorable Union Minister. Thank you very much, sir, for taking time off your busy schedule to be with us today. A big hello to all those who've joined us in India and from the ASEAN region. A warm welcome to the Flow past presidents and the Presidium, Janabi Pukhan, the National President, Ujjwala Singhania, National Senior Vice President, and Jayanti Dalmia, the National Vice President. Our three panelists from ASEAN include Pasita Huan from Philippines. She's also the ASEAN Chair for India-ASEAN Women's Business Forum. Makainza from Myanmar, and Nadira Yusuf from Malaysia. Special thanks to Vinita Bimbit, the India Chair for India-ASEAN Women's Business Forum, as this event is her brainchild and she's managed to pull this together single-handedly. FICCI Flow is an all-India organization for women with 17 chapters and representing over 8,000 women entrepreneurs, professionals, and corporate executives. With 3 decades of experience, the objective of the organization is to lead women into believing and recognizing their strengths, their unquestionable power and capabilities. It also facilitates women to showcase their skills and experiences across sectors and verticals of the economy. This is to ensure that we have a truly inclusive economic growth trajectory and build more cohesive societies. We're all working towards the same objective, and although there is no one-size-fits-all solution, recognizing the imperative to accelerate gender parity coupled with the willingness to lead change is what makes organizations such as Flow and India-ASEAN Women's Business Forum stand out in the efforts towards women empowerment. Looking forward to a great conversation and lots to take away from this event. Before I hand over to Vinita Bimbit, it gives me great pleasure to hand over the Green Certificate to our Honorable Union Minister, Mr. Jitendra Singh. We are an environmentally friendly organization and have planted 10 trees in the Sundarban National Park in your name. Thank you very much, and over to you, Vinita Bimbit.
Thank you so much, Malu. Welcome, Dr. Jitendra Singh, Union Minister for Government of India. Entrepreneurship matters and its benefits are many, and not the least is the significant boost it gives to our economy. And it is only natural and logical for us to extend and share these issues with our friends and our neighbors, because we enjoy a lot of synergy and cultural harmony with them. The empowerment and promotion of women entrepreneurs in the ASEAN region shares important cross-cutting issues with India, as women have been important contributors in both the countries, in both the regions. India-ASEAN Women's Business Forum was established so that women entrepreneurs and professionals, such as our guests today and all those who have logged in from the 10 ASEAN countries, can engage, interact, and recognize the increasing contribution of women and the significant role they play in their countries and around the world. Honorable Union Minister Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, we are privileged that you are here today, not just for this event, but also to launch our very first collaborative effort. Before we start the event, I'd like to show you a short film on how the network of Indian ASEAN Women's Business Forum was born and how it has grown. Chetan, may I request you to play the movie, please? I hope you all enjoyed that short movie. We have with us also today Jahanvi Phukan. Jahanvi is the 37th National President of FLOW. And Jahanvi's focus is on sustainable livelihood for women, not just as President FLOW, but also as an entrepreneur. A co-founder of two National Tourism Award-winning companies, Jungle Travels India and the Assam Bengal Navigation Company, her companies encompass travel and hospitality, boutique river cruising, small group specialized stores, tea, and textiles, all of which empower young people's livelihoods, especially women and their communities. Jahanvi, may I request you to give us a short address?
Thank you very much, Vinita. Namaste to all. It is my pleasure to address this session as the 37th National President of FLOW, the women's wing of FICCI. We have with us today Dr. Jitendra Singh, Union Minister of State for Development of the Northeast region. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us this opportunity to be addressed by you. I'm also delighted to welcome the participants from our ASEAN neighbors. Giving priority to women is not an option, it is an obligation. It is not just the right thing to do, but the smart thing to do. Investing in women is more than a matter of right. It stands for good economic sense. This is what Christine Lagarde had said. FLOW believes that the resources and the strengths of women need to be channelized to help grow to their full potential. So we like to play an integral part in this process and contribute effectively towards the growth agenda of the nation. In the current international relationships, our engagement with ASEAN forms an integral part of India's development vision. Traditionally, the basis of India-ASEAN ties has been trade and people-to-people ties due to our shared historical and cultural roots. As the first president from the Northeast region, I must reiterate that the development of the Northeast region is also key to the development of the ongoing India-ASEAN cooperation. India's Northeast is the physical and the cultural bridge between India, Southeast Asia, and East Asia. And therefore, it's imperative that we look at the India-ASEAN relations through this prism. Current estimates suggest that across the 10 ASEAN member countries, over 61.3 million women entrepreneurs own and operate businesses. Statistics indicate that women's participation in the ASEAN market could be further strengthened with greater access for women entrepreneurship. That is where we're here to discuss today, deliberate, and try to implement the best practices for sustainable livelihood for women's economic empowerment from all our region together, ensuring that women have equal access to the 3 E's that unlock economic opportunity: education, employment, and entrepreneurship. This is critical to forge stronger and more sustainable and inclusive growth for all women entrepreneurs. We are hopeful we can create a roadmap towards creating business opportunities and areas for collaboration for the women entrepreneurs from our country and your ASEAN. I take this opportunity to thank our past President Vinita Bimbet, India Chair of IAWBF, and the FLOW Mumbai Chapter Chair Manu Natharajan for initiating this India-ASEAN dialogue, and we look forward to a very interesting session and a closer interaction in the years to come. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, Jahanvi. And it gives me great pleasure to now hand over to Joyshri Das Verma, past chair of the Northeast chapter, to take on the next part of the event. Joyshri, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Vinita. Good evening, sir. I've been assigned the important role of doing an introduction with you. The internet is full of information about you, so we'll get into a brief Q&A to get into a sneak peek of what's not there on the internet. So we start, with the first question, that you don many hats: the politician, doctor, author, columnist. So which are the role that you love the most, and are you still able to manage a bit of all?
Thank you, Joshri, for your very kind words and a very generous introduction. I think one of the roles that I love the best is that I'm performing right now, sitting with all of you and engaged in this interesting, lively, and a very vibrating interaction. Of course, as far as your question per se is concerned, whatever is the assignment that one comes across, I think to perform it to the best of your potential is what each one of us looks forward to. And if we succeed, if not wholly, even to a certain extent, to live up to that expectation, I think that is God's grace and also the good wishes of all the friends like you. Thank you very much. But once again, I would reiterate that this is one of the best moments I'm enjoying.
Okay, that's a pleasure to hear that. So you left as your, you left your job as a professor of endocrinology from the Medical College, Jammu, and then you took up politics. And politics and being a doctor, in the field of medicine, both are serving the people and serving the purpose. The public. So what made you give up one to take up the other?
No, to tell you honestly, there's been a long tradition and a long history of medical professionals being a part of the public life and even the political life, beginning from the legendary none less than Dr. B.C. Roy, who happened to be the Chief Minister of West Bengal and was in fact one of the leading first generation physicians of India even before the independence. But having said that, as far as I am concerned, I think I was into a great amount of social activism, even while being in my medical profession and medical practice. It's just that I was affiliated with a particular kind of ideology and the organization which followed that ideology, and therefore when the decree came that I must take up an official assignment as a political office bearer, one of the requirements was that I have to cease to be on the payroll of a government institute, which I did. And then, of course, I was carrying on with my private practice for quite a few years, till I actually got elected to the Lok Sabha and found that I wouldn't be doing justice now to my practice because of the uncertain hours that we have over here. But I think one thing in common between the two pursuits is that even medical profession, I think the greatest advantage is twofold. A, that you have an abundant opportunity to serve the mankind and serve the society if you really had the will. So very early in my private practice, I think somewhere in mid 1990s, I took a pledge to myself that I would, because I was dealing mostly with the patients of diabetes and my 98% of my clientele were diabetic. So I took a resolve that I would treat all the young infant diabetics or the young children diabetics who are known to be type 1 diabetes and who require insulin all their life free of cost, and would provide insulin to them as long as they require it, which is obviously lifelong. And at the same time, I would also take care of at least one important patient every day to bear with his or her expenses as far as investigations and the other things are concerned. And I realized that that itself was a worship. You don't have to go visit a temple or a mosque or a church having performed that kind of worship. So there was an abundant opportunity, and I think that was also reflected on the kind of popular response that I received at the hustings when I entered into the election fray. And at the same time, because if you follow your your medical profession or your medical practice as a kind of dedicated service to mankind, then the society looks after you. And the second advantage was that since I was following very grilling hours and practicing till late night, I hardly had the opportunity to socialize or to be part of the social functions, which mostly my spouse did. But sitting in the confines of my clinical chamber, I would get to know about each family because I was having such a huge lot of public interaction and public dealing whole day. So I think that is the second advantage, which gives you a kind of a social profile in this profession. And all that, I think, came as a good legacy when I entered into active politics.
Okay, thank you. So we women claim that we are better multitaskers.
I can't hear you. I think have you got muted?
Can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay. So, I mean, we women claim that we are better
No, again, it's muted, I
multitaskers.
think. Yeah. Yeah, now I think it's come.
Okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
we claim ourselves that we women are better multitaskers, and you are handling
Absolutely.
6 ministries with the government of
Yes, I
India.
was I was
Okay.
handling only one task at a time while my spouse was multitasking. Absolutely.
Okay, so you still agree we women are better multitaskers? Okay.
Absolutely. I have gone through that experience.
So everyone's muted, so you're not going to hear any clap on that. So I'm sure everyone would be, full of appreciation for that comment. So what has been your key development mantra when you won the second time over in the elections by a margin of 500%? You must have definitely wooed your voters, So what was that one development mantra?
No, to tell you honestly, Joyshri, when I got into the fray second time, this was in fact a Mahagathbandhan, a combined candidate put up by all the political parties together. And there were also lots of jealousies and cynicism even among the so-called intelligentsia, even influential groups of media who are always keen to see somebody, stumbling. They would not be, there's a certain section which is never comfortable with somebody, meeting success after success. So in spite of that, I think I owe my success, as you said, 5 times record victory, which has been in that part of the country ever, because of the vote that I received from the anonymous common man, mostly the youth. And when lots of the prophets of doom, particularly in the media and some of your leading channels, had started predicting otherwise, I got 5 times more number of votes than the uh, earlier election and won by 5 times more margin, which is a record, as I said. So the first response which happened around midnight when the result was announced, and they asked me, I said, this is because this victory I owe to those youth and to those common men who could see me working and who could see the works of development happening, which possibly were not seen by many media persons and others in the political spectrum. And I said, because we have had about monumental works done in the last 5 years, including some of the landmark bridges in that part of the country. And I would see youngsters going there in the heat and humidity of June and July afternoons and getting themselves selfies done. And then I learned that there's something like pre-wedding promos also happening these days, and the young couples would come there. And I said, I owe my victory to these youngsters who stood there at 45, 46-degree temperature on the top of a bridge to get a selfie. They may not be in touch with me through the party or through the political stream, but they were actually the beneficiaries. They could see this happening, and they in fact succeeded in falsifying the wishful thinking of many of our rivals and many of our cynics in the entire spectrum. So I think
Okay, sir.
ultimately it is the common man who determines, and now also the youth, because we are in a nation with more than 70% of population below the age of 40. And as I was saying throughout the campaign, when they were making all kinds of predictions, I said the problem is that both the media commentators as well as many of our political activists are still living in the past election, whereas the youth has moved on. And therefore, it is the youth who would then determine. And the youth is so well connected that he would not even get convinced by his parents. Gone are the days when, an elder in the family would say, let all of us vote for so-and-so party, and that would happen. Because the youth today, the youngster today, would either like to get convinced, or he would in turn convince his parents. So even his parents ask him to go for a particular kind of vote pattern or vote preference, he would not necessarily agree to that. So this is what I think that the political beings have something to learn in the changing and a very fast changing scenario in India, which is reflecting every sphere of life, including politics.
So just list one of your topmost, the topmost achievement of yours. It could be on the personal sphere, or it could be in the, the professional life as well. Just one.
No, that's very difficult. I don't know. As a professional,
It could really.
I think living true to my conscience and constantly endeavoring to do that. I may not have been a very kind of a traditionally worshipping kind of a person or visiting a temple every morning and every evening like many of the others do particularly during the election times, but I made sure that I did not lie to myself. Because once you start lying to
Okay.
oneself, then you get into the habit of doing so, and you then start believing your own lie, and then the whole world becomes a hoax for you. And I think most of us in the around us get into that kind of an identity confusion because they are not living the kind of life they are actually living. So they tend to live or possibly try to live and then start believing living the kind of life they would like to have, not the kind of life that they're actually living. So that's a constant endeavor. The grace of God, I could actually discover that in myself and realize that I have to be as close to myself as I can be, as truthful to myself. And speaking truth to oneself, I think, is the greatest virtue, which also could be serving as a basic mantra for whatever you undertake in life.
Okay, so ending on a lighter note, your personal rating on a scale of 1 to 10 as the husband and as the father.
See, Joyshri, if you don't mind, shall I tell you something? I
Right.
saw this scale when you were starting out. I said the scale is incomplete. You know why? Because
Why?
it should have started from zero. If it had started from
Okay.
0 to 10, then I would have rated myself at zero. Because
Oh,
Manju, my wife,
way to go.
has been
Okay.
actually on a scale like this, she has performed up to 20, and that has what has made up my scale as zero. So my first response would be that scale of 1 to
So
10
that
is very
started from
kind to me
zero.
because I stand at zero. So I'm even less than 1.
Thank you
And I have
so
no
much.
hesitation in acknowledging that.
I mean,
And I
thank you
said,
so much
no, no,
for
I
your
said I
honest
have no
answers.
hesitation in acknowledging that.
Yeah, I mean, you are like really ensuring you're giving the right answers for the women.
Yeah, but
So,
I hope Manju, my wife, appreciates that.
yes, I mean, like, I'm sure your TRP at home is going to increase today. So, like,
Oh,
may I now request you, sir, thank you so much for your honest, insightful answers. And we just request you for your keynote address.
thank you, Joyshri. Joining us at this India ASEAN Women's Business Forum this afternoon, Chairperson Vinita Vimbet, past Chairperson Joyshri Das Verma, Malu Natarajan, Chairperson FLO, our panelists from across these nations, Pesta Juan from Philippines, Nadira Yusuf from Malaysia, Kinezor from Myanmar, all the panelists and ladies at this meet. I won't say ladies and gentlemen. Thankfully, I have the opportunity of saying ladies and ladies. It's indeed a great pleasure and opportunity for me, as I was saying right in the course of this informal interaction with Joyshri, that's when she asked me what could be one of your finest or enjoyable moments. I think this is one of the enjoyable moments we got in the company of such an enlightened group of successful women who have accomplished themselves in different spheres of life and prove to be role models for others as well, not within the spectrum of women folk, but across the gender margins and gender lines. Now, as far as the Association of South Asian Nations is concerned, I have no hesitation to say that future belongs to ASEAN and the ASEAN countries. As you would recall that the last few years, ASEAN has already come to the surface in a very glorious manner. It's become very visibly across the globe. And in India also, ever since Prime Minister Modi took over in 2014, there has been a special focus on developing relationships with ASEAN countries, among ASEAN countries, and in also giving impetus to mutual collaboration in different spheres and different sectors among the ASEAN countries, including India. And you have seen that happening. Only 3 years back, we had a huge ASEAN meet in the capital city of Delhi itself, where with all the heads of states, Prime Minister Modi was also himself available, and he spared time for that, considering the importance of that event. And in today's time and date as we meet, I think it becomes all the more important, because I have no hesitation to see, and I can foresee this with a huge amount of clarity, that ASEAN is going to have a very important role to play in the post-COVID scenario, and particularly in the post-COVID economy. India has proved to the world, at least on one aspect, that corona or no corona, the business goes on over here. There's not been a single day when our routine work got interrupted, our professional work got interrupted, or our office work got interrupted in the government circles. And so also, that is an inherent capacity, inherent resilience of this nation, which came to the surface very beautifully, converting this adversity into an opportunity, because we have learned to struggle through difficult circumstances. We have learned to struggle through hardship, because our past has given us that kind of a conditioning, that kind of a training, and that came handy during this COVID era. And therefore, that also gives me the confidence to say that even in the post-COVID era, it is the grit, courage, and the determination of the Indian nation, and so also the ASEAN countries, which have much in common, which will actually give a lead to the rest of the world. And as far as the Women Business Forum of the ASEAN countries is concerned, let's not forget that it is from Asia and the Southeast Asia that women have taken a lead traditionally in more ways than one. I don't know how many of us recall that the first ever head of state in the world was from Sri Lanka, Mrs. Sirima Bandaranaike. And we have Indira Gandhi in India for long many years, and of course Bangladesh even today has an accomplished head of state. And even in the corporate sector, in the academic circuit, you have young Indian and Asian women excelling, and in fact I would not say outsmart, but I would say outwitting even the men folk, the men counterparts. One of the latest among them is the Geeta Gopinathan in the IMF. And this phenomena is not confined only to the women who rise to become celebrities and find their names appearing in the media or the glossy columns of the magazines, but even in the common women folk, who may not be so visible, who may not be seen so frequently in the fashionable circles or the elite circles, but they have contributed, and they are increasingly contributed. And when we talk in the context of Northeast India, which is also a part of the agenda of today's meet, I think there it stands on the most prominently, because northeastern region of India has a very rich tradition of enterprising women folk who are emancipated in the true sense, who are inherently emancipated. In fact, when we talk of gender discrimination, or we talk of gender emancipation or women emancipation, I was once saying that this subject rules relevance when you get to know what Northeast is all about, because in many spheres of activities, the Northeastern women who give a lead, and the men folk have a cool time, beginning from 6 o'clock in the morning, running the fish market up to the shopkeeping. So the housewife concept does not exist over there. It could be a house husband otherwise. So any lethargic man who wishes to have a good time in the next birth, the next Jarma, could think of taking birth in Northeast and becoming a house husband. So what I'm trying to say, leave aside the lighter side of it, Northeastern women, and they have beautifully retreated this inherent trait of theirs in the recent or the ongoing COVID pandemic times. It was when many of the other states of the country in the initial phase of the lockdown were making demands for the requirement of face masks, etc. It was the women folk in Northeast who started making fancy face masks in so many colors, so many designs that you could wear. You could change a face mask depending on the color of your garments. And in fact, I was telling somebody that once this phase is over, we could hold an exhibition even in the capital city of Delhi, displaying the huge range and designs and fanciful colors of the face masks created by the women folk and particularly the women self-help groups of Northeast. So we have such a rich heritage and a rich resource with us. And as far as the northeastern region per se is concerned, and its context in the terms of the promotion of the ASEAN activities, I would say, as Prime Minister only yesterday in one of his addresses on the occasion of the inauguration of a project in Manipur, made a very catchy remark. He said, Northeast is emerging as a symbol of 3 P's: peace, prosperity, and progress. It's no longer the Northeast, which was, known for all kind of unflattering news, known for insurgent activities, known for road blockades, known for bands, known for violent activities. No longer so. In fact, somebody who lives in Northeast or visits Northeast now and starts living there for a while would not be able to imagine the same Northeast, which at one point in time people dreaded from visiting. Now, as far as the ASEAN countries is concerned, Northeast also has a special role in the trade and business, more so because when we talk and particularly from two points of view, when we talk of the Act East policy, which has been very beautifully pioneered by Prime Minister Modi, because earlier on it was Look East, and Prime Minister Modi gave it a new format and transformed it into Act East, because we actually need to act. So when we have to act East, we have to actually act through Northeastern region, because unless we empower and develop the areas and the regions proximal to the northeastern borders or the eastern borders, we would not be able to do justice to our trade and business dealing with the countries across these borders. Now, for example, I'll give you a small instance. If you have to, because of the common living habits, the common cultural traits, common food habits, if you have to export a produce or a food produce, you are expected to export what is grown in that region, because it will have takers across. You cannot carry groundnuts from Gujarat and expect takers in Myanmar. Now, for example, India is the biggest recipient of pulses and dal from Myanmar because it's not consumed there. But what is grown in Northeast is consumed in Myanmar. So, because of our common now, and secondly also because in the post-COVID scenario, when the entire world starts looking towards India, Northeast will emerge as an potential area with unexplored avenues, unexplored resources, unexplored opportunities. One of the prominent examples is bamboo, which we have been talking for quite some time now. Even Prime Minister mentioned it in his yesterday's address. I wish to share with all the participants over here that it was after 100 years the Prime Minister Modi, with his intervention, got this Indian Forest Act of 1919 altered, amended, and bamboo was exempted. The homegrown bamboo was exempted from the provisions of the Indian Forest Act, so that we could promote the trade, the production, the manufacturing of the bamboo products, which has a wide range, beginning from furniture to panels to house construction to garments to toothbrush to even to the noodles and eatables and whatnot. And very recently, the import duty on bamboo has also been increased in India to about 25%, so which is going to encourage. And let's not forget that a small item like agarbatti is used virtually in every other household in Asia, which has a huge market and a huge business, and bamboo is the main source of it. So that's why I say Northeast economy, India economy, and Asian economy, they are going to be very closely interlinked in the times to come. Similarly, take the sector of tourism. Somebody asked me the other day, what do you see the future of tourism in some of the picturesque destinations like Shillong, like Gangtok in the post-COVID era? I said, no, they are going to have they are in fact going to get a huge boost, particularly because of the fact that when many of the other destinations across the world, even the European holiday resorts were heavily infested with the corona positive cases. These are the regions which remained corona positive till the end. We had almost 5 states in the northeast region. We did not report a single corona positive test, which included even Sikkim, one of the most tourist savvy state. And it was only later on when the movement of the travelers started that some of the outsiders came there, or some of those returning home, and then they tested positive. Similarly, you have the handicrafts, you have the handloom. And the biggest impediment, which was to an extent coming in the way of an optimum promotion of trade between northeastern region and the ASEAN countries, and thereby also involving the whole of India, was connectivity. And I think I again have no hesitation in giving credit to this government that about 4 years back, an India-Bangladesh agreement was finalized, as a result of which there was an exchange of enclaves. Otherwise, when you traveled from from West Bengal, you had to cross through the entire circle to reach the northeastern region. And that would neither be cost effective, not be comfortable, not be business friendly. So with the exchange of these enclaves, that has brought an ease of business. And I said that day when it happened, I said this is something which should have happened at least 45 years ago, somewhere in 1971, right at the time of the birth of Bangladesh. But don't know, maybe God was waiting for Narendra Modi to take over as the Prime Minister, but it didn't happen. It reflected the will of the government. Similarly, we are going to soon have a first ever train to Bangladesh running from Agartala, which we would have run actually within 6 months from now, but because of the corona pandemic, the work got slightly delayed, and we have for the first time also started the alternative modes of inland waterways. The inland waterways are cost effective by as much as 4 times lesser compared to the conventional modes like railway, etc., particularly for carrying goods and for carrying other kind of business produce. So this is being to encourage in a huge way, running from Brahmaputra down up to Bay of Bengal. So it will connect the other countries as well. So I think because in the webinar, the one of the dictums is that you don't have to speak long because you don't know which one of the audience has gone off to sleep and you keep talking. But I can see Joyshri smiling, so I know that she's listening, and so are the other friends.
No,
over
no,
there.
we have not gone off to sleep, Honorable Minister. We are just very grateful you've given us so much time. But I want to remind you that you have to launch our first collaborative effort between India and ASEAN. So if I could request you to launch that, then we'll play the film once you launch it.
Thank you, thank you. I would, in fact, I have to thank you for remaining awake throughout my
we are wide awake.
and bearing with me whatever I said. And then before I actually take this opportunity and this gracious opportunity that you gave me to launch this, I would once again thank the kind words put across by you, and I would say that this was an opportunity for me to make this announcement, and maybe also this ominous good forecast that women are going to take the lead in the times to come, even in the post-COVID era, and take the lead for all of us, not only for women. Your focus, your commitment, your dedication, your professionalism will be crucial in determining the kind of world that emerges in the post-COVID aftermath. With those few words, of course, thank you very much, and I have to thank you once again for your kind introduction and a very interesting interview, which I hope you enjoyed.
We did, and if I can request our IT department to play the launch of the collaboration, please, Chetan. Thank you so much, Dr. Jitendra Singh Ji, for that wonderful session. You have given us more time than we thought we would get from you. I'd request you to stay on while we welcome our ASEAN guests who have come electronically across the borders and are going to speak a little bit to us about their lives and their businesses and some interesting episodes.
Thank you, Malu, and thank you, Malu. And I also use this opportunity in the beginning of my discourse, referring to Nadira yourself and referring to Asita Joan, and I'm glad that through your medium I'm getting an opportunity to be with them as well, though virtually.
Thank you.
But
Thank you.
the connection is virtual, but all of us are real. We are not virtual.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for being here. And I would also like to, while you're here, also like, and since you've spoken about Bangladesh and the railway service, I would like to welcome some of our affiliation heads. We have Mukta Jain with us, who's the India chair for CASI. We have Kiran Gera here with us, who's the India chair for SHWEC. And we have Harjinder Kaur Talwar here with us, who's a board member and India chair for IWEC. All three head international affiliations. And of course, our Janvi Phukan President Flo is hugely involved in tourism, which you were talking about. And I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of the India ASEAN Women's Business Forum committee members, Lubena Shapurwala, Joyshi Das Verma, Rati Mundre, Monica Chowdhury, Poonam Mahajan, past President Vasri Bharat Ram, past President Ranjana Agarwal, and Vice President Jayanti Dalmia. And now I will start our next part of the event. To our neighbors from across the border, a very warm welcome, namaste, kamusta, mingla bar, selamat petang. I hope I got it all right. You can unmute yourselves, at least the three of you. From the Philippines, Pasita Juan, ASEAN Chair, India ASEAN Women's Business Forum, Coffee Crusader, President of the Philippine Coffee Board, Director of the ASEAN Coffee Federation, International Counselor for Slow Food, author, restaurateur, owner of a chain of coffee shops, the owner of Echo Store and a family business that's 50 years old. You also sit on the steering committee of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. And Pasita, you're the quintessential comeback queen, and your friends call you a serial entrepreneur. Would you like to talk to us about that?
Hi, Vinita, and good afternoon, Dr. Singh. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about, I could so relate to Assam and Guwahati and the Northeast. So everything was coming back to me like when I was in Assam. Anyway, about being a serial entrepreneur, I think it's only that's how I say it, because an entrepreneur never gives up. You might fall sometimes. Out of 3 times that you try, maybe only 1 business idea will succeed, but you keep trying. So serial is, in the modern age, they call it startup, but actually you can start up so many times. So serial meaning you just keep going. I mean, what you see, what you want to do, and you just turn it into a business, your passion, your purpose. So that's what I mean by being a serial entrepreneur.
Excellent. Thank you. From Myanmar, we have Makhain Zaw. Makhain, I don't know what I should not introduce you as. President and CEO of the Earth Group of Companies. You're in trading and distribution. You have a global network of freight forwarding. You're in manufacturing, a broad scope, precision-made electrical components with 2 Japanese companies as well. You're in logistics. You're in consulting and engineering. You're in renewable energy. You invent, design, and install customized power systems. And you also have Yuki Mugi, a F&B outlet of authentic Japanese bakery. You're a Japanophone. You have a brilliant nose for business. You speak 4 languages. You're a born-again environmentalist. You said something very interesting to me. You said you killed the planet and now you're giving back. Would you like to share with us what you meant by that? Nakain, unmute.
Okay. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of strategies that actually, as I mentioned, that I'm not finishing the formal education like the one. But I believe it. I need to be true to myself. So then, one of my strategies begin having a deep understanding of the people I will be dealing with, and any environment in my environment. So, but most important thing is also require me to understand myself, because I'm not finishing the school. So, but my strength and weaknesses and my goals and my fears, I know that, so I need to be true to myself. So building naturally on who I am and embracing my own unique and personalities and talents. So to achieve what I wanted, I cannot be separate what I can do from who I am. So that's how I did it.
So Makain, you did not finish school. Is that what you're saying? And
yes.
You're still such a successful businesswoman. And you, why I mentioned you killing the planet, because I believe you are the first person in renewable energy.
Yes. Yeah. As the same thing, I'm the first woman who do the timber exporting, and as well as for the timber concession. I killed the planet.
And so now you are the first person or the first woman in renewable energy?
First woman, and then in the first woman in the renewable energy in Myanmar, as well as for the first woman for exporting the timber business overseas in the last 40 years. And then, so that's why I killed the planet. I pay back. Then I know what I did wrong, so I pay back.
You're paying back
renewable energy. Yes.
Very good. So anyone who had timber business needs to go into renewable energy. Now we come to Malaysia and Nadira Yusuf, champion of women in technology, founder and chief executive officer, Nadi IU Technologies. You established Girls in Tech Malaysia, Kiddo Care, Moriland, Ideas Academy, Art Energy, Impact for Humanity, Backtrack. You have received several awards, accolades, and recognition. We're truly delighted to have you here with us, Nadira. Nadira, you are what we in India call technology ki Rani, the queen of tech. What did you study? I mean, did you?
So what did I study? First things first. I'm really delighted. I'm really happy to be here today, sharing the stage with everyone. And I'm truly humbled by being here. And I am also very relatable to what Dr. Jitendra actually mentioned about the changing landscape and the scenario. And it's all due to like technology and social media and things like that. And back then, when I was deciding what to learn or what to pursue for higher education, it was so I was very interested in arts. I actually love design and things like that. But being 17-year-old at that time and deciding what to do, it was always what's cooler to do. And at that time, what school was engineering. That was it, right? And I didn't know at that time that studying engineering had led me to do a whole lot of other things. I may not be doing, the whole engineering per se, but the whole learning experience of going through that engineering allowed me to be where I am now. I can produce products. I can develop processes. I think I have the right balance of understanding, the humanity side of things and actually producing things. So that's how I started. I'm so happy here I am right now.
So Nadira, I do know that your first company produces, you're actually in production and you produce tablets and computers and mainframes, and you also provide software for all of those.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your first company and also about your latest venture and what led you to your latest venture?
Okay, so I guess when I first started, I was in fact I am actually a very nationalist. I would call myself a nationalist. I would always want to do something and create something that's truly Malaysian. And I wanted to export Malaysian everywhere. So at the time when I started, I was actually very frustrated that a Malaysian company could not produce good hardware products, right? So I was young. I started my company when I was about 22, 23. And I was going very headstrong. I told my dad I was going to start a company. I wanted to build computing products and things like that. Everybody told me I was crazy. I said, I'm going to do it anyway. And so I did with much struggle in the beginning. But after that, I think it grew. Being a woman in the tech sector, especially during the times when I was building it, that was a real challenge. Being a mother as well was tougher than anything else. But it was always about what else can I do to complete my user. So at first it was hardware, and then what else? Software had to come in and complement my hardware, and it was always that desire to see people fulfilled with the products that had led me to where I am now. So after producing hardware and software, and we were doing very well, but after some time I was asking myself, I was building a lot of things for people, yes, but I think at the back of it, I was always wanting to build an empire for myself, right? And up to a point, I decided that that's not important anymore. What I wanted to do was to really use what I have, my skills, to see how can I help other people. I want to replicate those smiles. I want to replicate those fulfillments. And I wanted the power to go back to the community. And if I were to do that, it's got to be less talk. There's so many problems in the world that need solving. And I can use technology to solve some of those problems, especially those relating to me, and it's very close to my heart, women and children. So I started off what we call Kiddo Care, which is a platform to connect parents with certified children-based service providers. And this is what I call that's most fulfilling for me, and it replicates smiles. So
Okay, lovely. That is interesting to hear. And Pasita, I'm going to come back to you because when you were talking about being a serial entrepreneur, actually, I've seen an interview of yours in which you were saying you and the word failure have a very interesting relationship. You embrace the word failure. I think entrepreneurs would like to know, why do you embrace the word failure and what has it taught you?
Are not really bad things. They're lessons to be learned. And after that, you move on. You brush your knees and then forge ahead. Because I think a failure is just a lesson in that maybe it was you were ahead of your time, or maybe it's something that doesn't fit your life mission, and so it's not the business for you. Sometimes you have to, or most of the time you have to listen to the universe, and when it's meant for you, everything just jives. So there's a time said, why don't we open, I mean, what's so hard about opening a laundry shop? I opened the laundry shop, but it wasn't for me. And then I opened a convenience store, and I said, it wasn't so convenient. I mean, I realized that you're washing too many things. It was convenient for the customers, but not for the owner. So, sometimes you're doing it because you want to help a friend or you want to help someone. You've got the skill for this. Let's start a business. Uh, the businesses that have stayed long enough are the businesses that really are part of you, that you wake up to. Like coffee, for example, or you, it's part of your life, like Echo Store. I mean, it's about lifestyle, so it comes easy. And so you just move on, and before you know it, like, we're 12 years old.
Yes,
So it's
I know
got to
that,
be
and very
something,
successful.
and something that you feel. I mean, you'll feel it. The failure part sometimes is because somebody just said, hey, this is a good idea, let's do it. But don't dwell on it, just move on.
And now that you're talking about 12 years ago. Let's get on to the topic of 12 years ago and now, the COVID time. So, they say that not all storms come to disrupt your life and some come to clear your path. Do you think COVID affected EcoStore in any way? I mean, I know you started EcoStore so that, you could introduce a healthy living and lifestyle into your life. What did COVID do to EcoStore?
Well, realistically, brick and mortar shops had to close. But luckily, we prepared for e-commerce. And so everybody needs lifestyle products now that are not just lifestyle, but have become essentials. So all the essentials made EcoStore a business that, is so relevant in these days of COVID. So yes, it's bad that we have to close physical stores, but it's good in the sense that now people are waking up. We've been talking about this. We've been talking about eating healthy, and now everybody is watching. Everybody's paying attention because nobody wants to get hit by COVID. But we've been talking about virgin coconut oil, turmeric, and all these herbs and spices that before was just in food, but really food is your medicine. So I think COVID is now, I can say, the impetus for people to even get to know EcoStore better.
That is good to hear. That is good to hear. Makain, staying on the topic of COVID, I know you had trouble with one of your factories. Almost 2,000 workers decided that they were not happy. How did you handle it and how did you sort it out? You're mute. You're mute, Makain. You're mute. Can't hear you.
I just feeling the power of water, like a taming the fire with the power of water. So win without the confrontation. Okay. So I just change what I can and endure that what I cannot. So this is how I solve the problem. So, but I don't need to lay off. I don't need to fire to anyone, and we don't need to reduce anyone. Yeah, since we have their orders and like this. So what I just find out is we just only have to prepare for a workforce readiness and access to the job. So that's what they needed to do it. So we are now working to, we have to move together, we work together. So that's what I'm doing.
So you're saying when your 2,000 workers went on strike, you actually did not confront them, but you sat down and spoke with them and sorted it out, did not fire them and carried on. And you've now in fact got more orders than you had before, right?
Yes.
That's extremely good. And Nazira, what about you? Best practices, pivoting your business affected in this changing world of COVID.
So when COVID hit, I mean, our business revolves around people, right? Naturally. So it was a lot of, I think, concern, right? With parents and whatnot, moving people around and having somebody to come to your house. So everybody is concerned about the safety of their children. And even our carers, rather our babysitters, were worried about going around as well. So we had to think, how else can we do things? So we tried to develop products or services that also uses a lot of technology. We knew that parents were going crazy trying to work from home and managing their own kids. So we had nannies online. We were serving the frontliners, so a group of our nannies just truly serve frontliners at the hospitals, allowing them to work, taking care of their children. And then we moved on to actually having early education online and making sure that the children could still get enough, mental stimulation, social time, those kind of things. So it created that path for us. It was tough initially, of course. We had to pivot very fast. We had to look into things that people can be comfortable with. But it has led us to where we are now with multiple other products which we would not have done if it wasn't for COVID. So yeah.
Yes, interesting. You know, I could go on with you ladies, but I think we are sort of running a little late. So I'm going to end with just one quick question and then I'm going to hand it over to the audience. I mean, you're three dynamic women. All three of you have more than one business. Each one of you have 6, 7 companies. You're running them, your families, your lives. So I just want to know, who is the woman that inspires you? Should we start with you, Pasita?
Okay. They say, I'm really impressed with Mother Teresa, Oprah Winfrey, and Steve Jobs. So put those three together. I'm trying to learn all the tech, and Nadira's my inspiration. I did not take up engineering. I was very poor in math. But my father told me, as long as you can make a profit of 10%, you're good. He said, have $1 and you sell that $1 for $2. You've already made a profit. He thought he thought that, I was going to believe him, that you don't need an engineering degree, because I was worried about my math. But you know what? I think it's just loving what you do.
You got other people to do the math for you. You got the ideas. Nadira, a woman you admire or who inspires you, or a bunch of women or people you want to turn into a woman.
Pachita. I don't have necessarily just one woman. I engage with so many women in my, NGOs and businesses. And the thing about women is that everyone has their own story, right? And every woman is a learning opportunity for other women. And that inspires me, right? Every time I talk to a woman, I learn so much from the story, and it either makes me feel very blessed or very grateful or even very humbled. So and every opportunity or every woman I would look up to, because I know behind her are her struggles, and behind her are her tenacity and just beauty. So yeah.
Thank you. That's a beautiful answer. Makain, you have to unmute yourself and you have to tell me who's the woman who inspires you.
I like a woman who fought 1,000 battles and still standing, and cried in tears and smiling, and has been broken and betrayed and abandoned, rejected, but still walk proud and laugh loud and live without the fears. I think this kind of woman is really beautiful and who I'm really admired.
Good Lord, I think I'm going to admire these answers for a long time to come. Beautifully said, Makain. And with this, I think with this last question, I'm going to...
Vinita, can I just come in? Vinita?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yes, can you just, do the thank you for the Honorable Minister, sir. He's wanting to leave. He's just waiting.
Yes.
For, yes.
Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, thank you so much for also listening to these women. That means you take us seriously. So I believe that answer of yours.
Thank you.
I believe your answer.
Thank you, Vinita. Fully conceded, and I'm going back not only wiser than before, but much, much more charged and inspired this evening. And I'm sure I'll carry this spark of inspiration to others as well. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's very kind of you. Cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much. All right, I am now going to hand over to Malu Natarajan, Chairperson of Flow Mumbai Chapter, for the question and answer session.
Thank you, Vinita. I think that was a very insightful conversation. Thanks, Vinita, Pasita, Makain, and Nadira. It started off beautifully with the minister confirming that women are going to continue to take a lead. The takeaway for me is when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Give back what you've taken away, and failure is just a lesson learned, and reach for the stars, I guess. So thank you so much. And there are a lot of questions coming up. So I would request Kiran Gera to ask the first question, please.
It is full of so much wisdom. I'm absolutely touched, even with Malu's concise takeaways, because that's exactly what I wanted to say, and that she has already preempted me. So I will not ask you a question, but tell you that I've learned from you two things. One, that we are different, we're in different cultures in different countries, and yet we have so much commonality, same values, same tenacity. And I want to tell each one of you one by one that, Makhain, I love the fact that you are so tenacious in spite of all the setbacks you've had. Rosita, you are so full of wisdom. I have a lot of resonance with you. And when you say failure is nothing but a lesson, I've always lived it. And Nadira, I wish I could laugh and joke and be as jovial and as happy as you are. God bless all three of you, and thank you, Vinita, for this wonderful opportunity to meet these wonderful women. I'm not going to ask you any questions. I don't have any. Thank you.
Thanks. I think Jayanti Dalmia has a question to ask. Jayanti, can you unmute yourself? Okay, while waiting. Yes, hi.
Hi. Yeah. So it was really amazing to hear all three of you, Makain, Pachita, and Nadira. And I've also met you a couple of times. Really admire the way you've taken care of us and in Bangkok and in Malaysia. It was in Philippines, not Malaysia, and in Philippines. It was fantastic for your hospitality and taking care of our specially vegetarian food that we were wanting and things like that. It's been an amazing experience. I would like to ask Nadira, in what different ways do you think the India ASEAN Business Forum has been beneficial to you and your business?
Okay, thank you for the question, and I'm truly very happy to listen to all the feedback. So what I feel right now is that this forum has provided us with some kind of understanding, and I think understanding is very important. To also look into our commonalities, as business people, I think it is always at the back of our heads. We're always looking for opportunities, right? And opportunities has to come with clear understanding on what can be done. So I think it is very insightful today, listening to the minister, listening to all the women speaking, and I truly feel because we are common in terms of our desires to create things that matters, that actually connects and really impact that connection. I think there's so many things that we can do, and I think this is the start for us to actually, explore and do things. I think we have doers here rather than just speakers. So this is where I think we are different because we are doers. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
There is one more question, but we are running out of time. So, Vinita, do we wrap up or can we ask another question? Can't hear
Either. We can do a quick answer.
Okay. There's one question for Pasita. How do you rate the involvement of government policies and laws with regards to promoting entrepreneurship? If you look at one of the ASEAN countries, for example, like Singapore, a company can register itself within 24 hours. So there is a lot of encouragement and simplification of laws to promote this. So how do you see the other countries coping with it in the ASEAN?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Very interesting. Singapore, of course, as we know, they want to encourage entrepreneurship. Number two, they're very quick in tech, the best internet speed, etc. And they really do things efficiently. Now, when you don't have those conditions and you still survive as an entrepreneur, then that's really the test. uh, I think the other ASEAN countries, because I guess we're bigger in land area, we've got more resources. In our case, in government, entrepreneurship is being encouraged by putting up like information centers around the country. There's access to cheaper money. There's also access to mentorship. Like Makain is one of our mentors in the ASEAN circuit. So I think the countries are turning on to entrepreneurship more than just employment, but Singapore is really exceptional with regard to speed. Now, with digitalization, we hope that the other countries will catch up with the speed of Singapore, where you can register a business in like 24 hours.
Thank you
I hope
so
I
much.
answered it. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to hand over to Lubena Shaporwala to say the vote of thanks, please.
Good evening. Our distinguished panelists and our most valued invited guests. It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks to this occasion. On behalf of Flow Mumbai and the IAWBF, I extend a very hearty thanks to all of you for making it to this event. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Honorable Minister's presence in launching our ASEAN-India joint collaboration. I know he's not here, but thanks is due. Thank you today to all our panelists for sharing their work, their journey, and opinions. An event like this cannot happen overnight. The wheel started rolling weeks ago. It requires planning and an eye for detail. Thank you, Joy, for putting this all together so beautifully and bringing us all here to witness the start of a worthy collaboration. Thank you and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. And I have to apologize for running over time. We can leave now. Monica, I'll provide you details later. Thank you so much. Thank you, Muktaji, Kiran. Mukta, you have, yeah, Muktaji is saying something with your mute.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Pasita, how are you? She's gone. Bye.
Mute. Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks, Ujjwala. Thanks for being there. So log into the next program before we get.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you all.
Yes.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Vasvi. Thank you, Jayanti. Thank you.
Thank you, girls. Lovely. Thank you, Vinita.
My pleasure. Thank